ever since the blueprint system in Asphalt 8 was added about a year ago, well, there's been a lot of blueprint cars. It all started out with the Chevrolet Impala 1967. That was the first blueprint car that ever came out in Asphalt 8. Since then, a lot of new vehicles have been mostly blueprint cars, and some of the old vehicles in the game were switched from their token or credit prices to the blueprint form. Now, a lot of people dislike the blueprint system, and it's easy to see why, because it's really hard to get blueprints for cars. However, there are many time-limited events that give out blueprints for some specific vehicles, so for those vehicles, it's actually really easy to get the blueprints for them. Now, before we get into this very highly requested video, make sure to subscribe to this channel, guys. We are the Cheese God Army, and if you subscribe, you're making the army larger every day, which is great. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Let's try to pass 200 likes, because we've done that for every single video, to be honest. Anyways, let's get to our top 5 list for the best blueprint cars in Asphalt 8. Now keep in mind, because there are a lot of blueprint cars in the game, I may have left out some vehicles that should be on this list. If I did miss out any of these vehicles, please let me know in the comment sections below, and those cars that I missed will be in a part 2 video. Let's get started with an honorable mention. The honorable mention is the Porsche 918 Spyder with the YSAC package. This is the best Porsche car in Asphalt 8. The Porsche 918 is the 3rd or the 4th best Class S car in the game. Its total speed is about 313 miles an hour, which is pretty darn fast. It's one of the fastest Class S vehicles. Now, unfortunately, the car does rely on nitro a lot. Its top speed can only go about 265 miles an hour at Max Pro with a tuning kit, and its nitrous gives it the rest of the boost. The nitro can go about 50 miles an hour, which is a huge boost. This means that if you run out of nitro, well, you're going really slow if you run out of nitro for this car. Due to the car's great nitro efficiency, however, it's really hard to run out of nitro unless you're on a really long map with not much nitro boost. The drifting and acceleration of this car are surprisingly pretty good. The only issue is the handling. Now, when you have your nitro boost going on with this car, it's really hard to control this car. It's hard to move it from right to left easily. Instead, you have to rely on drifting a lot. And drifting means that you have to go back to your top speed. And remember, the top speed for this car is really bad. So, by drifting, you lose a lot of speed with this car. The car is 45 rare blueprints, and that's really hard to get unless you complete its Enduro Double Down event. If you manage to win it, however, at a pretty low rank, it can be multiplayer tuned. At a rank of 1659, this car can go 300 miles an hour, which is pretty fast at that rank. It might not be the best, but it's pretty okay in multiplayer. Anyways, that is our honorable mention. Starting the top 5 list at the number 5 spot is the Aranera Lucera GT. This car was added recently, and its event was a championship where it required 20 legendary blueprints to assemble. 20 legendary blueprints is really hard to get, guys, but the championship was not too hard, so a lot of people managed to win it. Now, this car, though it may not have the fastest speed in Class S, it is one of the best Class S multiplayer cars, because it can go about 310 miles an hour at a rank of 1700, which is pretty darn fast. It can rival Aston Martin Vulcans. Outside of multiplayer, this car is still pretty good in Class S events. Though I said before it's not the best Class S car, you will still get the top 4,000 or so in Class S events, which is not bad if you think about it. There is not much else to say about this car, so that concludes our number 5 spot. At our number 4 spot, we have the second best Class S vehicle in the game. It is the Lamborghini Aventador SV. This car also requires 45 rare blueprints, which is really hard to get unless you want its Enduro Double Down event, which was really challenging, but it was worth it if you want it. This car can go to speeds of about 315 miles an hour, which is almost the same as the Aston Martin Vulcan. However, it loses to the Vulcan because of its handling and drifting and acceleration. Its handling and drifting is not the worst, but definitely not the best, and it can't compare with the Aston Martin Vulcan. Same goes with the acceleration. The acceleration is definitely not the best, and the Aston Martin Vulcan can knock this car down in multiplayer. But speaking of multiplayer, this car is like the Porsche 918. It can be multiplayer tuned at about a rank of 1660 or even 1700, and it can go like 304 miles an hour. It's pretty fast, it's pretty good for multiplayer, and it's pretty good for Class S events, which is why this car makes our number 4 spot. At our number 3 spot is one of the weirdest looking vehicles in Asphalt 8. It is the Sin R1. Now, the name sounds kind of bad, right? It's a sin to have it, right? But that's absolutely not the case. In fact, this car is one of the best multiplayer cars in the entire game. I made a video about this recently, so if you want to check that out, in my outro, I will have that video up in the corner, so you can click on that in the outro of this video. Anyways, this car is magnificent for multiplayer. It can beat Aston Martin Vulcans pretty easily at the 1670 rank or so. This car has a positive speed multiplier of 100.02%, so the speed that you see, well, the car is actually going faster than that. So this car is just magnificent. Its stats are perfect. The acceleration of this car is great, handling and drifting is great, top speed and nitro is great. The car is just one of those cars that are great in every aspect, which is why it does multiplayer so well. Now, unfortunately, because of its total speed at Max Pro not being fast enough, it is not the best in Class A events, but it still is pretty good for Class A events. So, this car is 18 legendary blueprints, and it was given out as a reward for multiplayer in the last couple of seasons. So yeah, that's how I got this car. If you guys can get this car, please do. It's a great car for multiplayer and not too bad for Class A events. At the number 2 spot, we have the most useful F1 car in the game. It is the McLaren Mercedes MP425. This car was a championship vehicle that was not too hard to get. Unfortunately, it used to be a token price, but it was changed later to the blueprint system. This car requires 30 rare blueprints, which is not as much as some of the cars that we mentioned before in the list, but it's still quite a bit. Fortunately, there was an event that was held about a month ago where it gave out blueprints for this car, so a lot more people won this car. Now, this car, the reason I put it at such a high place in this list is because it is so great for multiplayer. Being an F1 car means it has great acceleration, great handling and drifting, and usually decent top speed. This car is just so great in terms of stats. If you can multiplayer tune this car at a rank of about 1500, it can beat any competition at that rank, okay? Even SLKs, because acceleration is just so great. The car for multiplayer is most useful in the ranks of 1500 to around 1650. After 1650, you're going to be paired with Vulcans and other better vehicles. So, it's best to keep this car at a rank between 1500 and 1650. However, if you tune this car past that rank, it is best to fully pro this car to its 1766 rank, because it is so great for short maps for Class A events. This makes our number 2 spot. At our number 1 spot is debatably the best multiplayer car at almost every rank. It is the Mercedes Special Edition. This car, guys, at a rank of only 1200, can go 310 miles an hour, guys. It's incredible. It's a really fast speed at a really low rank, which is why whenever you see this car in a race, that's not good. You're probably gonna lose unless that driver is not really good with its SLK. The car is really top speed focused. With a tuning kit at Max Pro, the car can go 309 miles an hour for top speed only. At Max Pro for its total speed, the car can go 335 miles an hour, which is the fastest speed in Asphalt 8. But for those of you who don't know, this car is not perfect in any way. It is top speed focused, which means that its other stats aren't that great. Its acceleration, I believe, is one of the worst in the game, unless you upgrade it a lot, and even if you fully upgrade its acceleration, the car's still really slow at accelerating. Its handling and drifting is also one of the worst in the game if you don't upgrade the handling and drifting capabilities. However, once you upgrade it, it's actually quite manageable for the handling and drifting. So for my multiplayer tune at a rank of 1400 with this car, I upgrade the handling quite a bit, and the car drifts pretty well. I have to say, the worst thing about the car is probably the acceleration. The car requires 18 legendary blueprints, and was one of the rarest vehicles to be ever seen in Asphalt 8. That was before there was an event held for the blueprints for this car, where a bunch of people won the blueprints for this car and got the car. That's how I won this vehicle, guys. In the multiplayer event that happened, I think 2 months ago, there were so many blueprints given out for this car. So, I just won it. And I have one of the most overpowered cars in the game. And I think that's pretty much it for my top 5 list of the best blueprint cars in Asphalt 8. Remember, if I forgot a vehicle in this list, please tell me in the comment sections below, and it will be in a part 2 video. Let's see, what else? Okay, subscribe and like, those are the two main things. Also check out my Google Plus community, She's Got Army, okay? That's my Google Plus community. Make sure to check that out, link will be in the description below, and also follow my YouTube Instagram at the official Axis. Because if you ask me any questions on Instagram, I will DM you back and answer all your questions. Well, that is if I can. Some of your questions are pretty difficult to answer, guys, but that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in my future videos. Goodbye, guys!